This is my reflective commentary for the contemporary theatre practice in a digital culture assessment. The first stimulus of our piece was the idea of the individual subject and how that through the use of digital media, in particular images and social media, the subject can be read differently. We tried to present this through experimenting with the live and the digitalised, and from this attempted to question the real. What information was real, and also what was real in relation to performance and its liveness. With regard to the live, there are many debates around the idea of liveness, which contemporary practitioners and theorists provoke. Probably the most famous debate is that of Philip Auslander and Peggy Phelan. In short, Auslander argues that the live and performance has become increasingly mediatised, and the proposition that there may be no clear-cut ontological distinctions between live forms and mediatised ones. And for Phelan, it is the live that cannot be saved, recorded, documented, or otherwise participate in the circulation of representations of representations. When devising our performance, we were influenced by the real and how we could create real moments on stage. Lacan talks about the real and starts with the mirror stage. Lacan suggests that the mirror stage is a drama, which manufactures for the subject the succession of fantasies that extends from the fragmented body, image to form of its totality. In recognising ourselves in the mirror, we simultaneously recognise us as a total being, but outside of us, as a representation of us. In other words, because we can imagine ourselves, we experience a split subject, both the real and the imaginary. In performance, the ideas of the mirror stage can be presented through the use of a camera, like we implemented into our performance. The camera stage. Much like the mirror, the camera has the same function of simultaneously exposing the presence of a virtual self and the physical self. In our performance, we used the mirror and the camera stage through the use of recorded videos. Each of our videos presented our physical selves, yet with an exaggerated ego or personality. Then in the live, on stage, we each repeated 4 gestures which became a motif. In doing this, we questioned the real. Our physical self was mirroring our live and digitalised self. However, the relationship between the subject on the camera and the subject in the live could be read as different texts and therefore imagined. We also questioned the exhaustion of movement. It is said the more you exhaust a movement, your body becomes into such a state it brings you closer to a real performance. With regards to the liveless, Auslander would suggest that everything we witness in performance has already or has the potential to become mediatised through our own knowledge. The concept of liveness depends on mediatisation and only makes sense to us because mediatised performance is our cultural norm. We could suggest here that this links with the postmodern philosophy, which is concerned with the possessed individualism. It is a subjectivity of aesthetic excess, where the self substitutes materiality for parallel selves or a designer self. An example of this can be representing yourself on social media like Facebook or YouTube, where you can self-design the individual subject. Therefore, the technology splits the subject. This was shown through our performance, through our repeated gestures as they were performed in the live. The movement didn't necessarily connect completely to the narrative of the video, therefore leaving the audience with the authority of the text and creating a readerly text. This was because the gestures stressed fragmentation and destruct the narrative of the linear video. A theatre company which influenced us on this was Station House Opera's Road Metal Sweetbread, where video personas vie with their live counterparts for attention and authenticity regarding each other with conflicting emotions, hidden motives, repressed impulses, covert violence, and secret passions all become visible in this strange space, which are part real, part intangible, part past, and part present. In trying to capture a real moment in our performance, we incorporated a performer from outside the space of the performance, someone who was connected to one of our audience members. This was Ildiko's husband. It was using the voice of her husband in performance which hopefully generated a reaction as close to the real as possible. We took this idea from the network theory, in particular connectivity. The term, initially growing out of the digital media theory, is now used in the context of live theatre and its engagement with telematic technology, such as mobile phones, the internet, and video circuits. Gob Squad's Revolution Now is an example of how the use of technology in performance can transport the real into theatre. In all their works, Gob Squad penetrates through to the real world, but they do so by adding an artificial layer that creates unpredictable, hyper-realistic effects and reveals what Gob Squad calls the beauty in banality, or moments of the real, similar to what we try to achieve in our performance by implementing the voice of Ildiko's husband. Gob Squad celebrate live performance as a space for the negotiation of encounter via mediatization, in which the modes of communication are no less real than in a face-to-face encounter. Gob Squad's techniques here mirror what we implemented into our performance with the inclusion of the communication with the person outside the live. In doing this, perhaps brought us closer to achieving the real in performance. Finally, something which came out of our performance once we performed was the idea of the failure of technology and the absence it creates in live performance. Similar to the ideas of Phelan, where she suggests that the use of digital media in performance destroys the essence of what it is to be live. It was noticeable in our performance when the sound was missing from videos and the delay of the camera as a few examples. But also in the live, when we try to recreate the images of ourselves, it could be argued that even the most perfect reproduction of a work of art is lacking in one element: its presence in time and space, its unique existence at the place where it happens to be. Here, it could be said that through reproduction of an original, be that art, image, performance, the original loses its authenticity. Therefore, we could no longer create what was real. Perhaps the incorporation of digital media, like Auslander argues, can bring us closer to the live, and in doing so, closer to what we wanted to achieve in our performance, creating real moments.